everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Elephants. I'm your host, Destiny Farley, and today I'll be interviewing my longtime friend, Olivia Rich, about something that is very difficult for her to talk about, yet she has still graciously agreed to discuss with me. In January of 2024, during her first pregnancy, Olivia experienced a miscarriage. It was an extremely dark time in her life, as anyone who has lost a baby or lost a loved one in general can attest. Olivia has always known that she wanted to be a mom, and her partner were very excited to meet their baby. So, this drastically shook up their world. She struggled with a lot of different things: identity, grief, belief system, and much more. This experience really shaped her into becoming the person and the mom that she is today. And she's a very wonderful human being, and you guys will get to see that and meet her today. Fortunately, she now has a happy, healthy baby girl, but obviously that did not come without its trial and tribulations. But before diving into your experience, Liv, can you just take a moment to briefly introduce yourself and then maybe start by telling me a little bit about how you grew up and your family dynamics and things like that?
Yes. So I'm Olivia, born and raised here in Las Vegas. I am the youngest of 4 kids and have amazing parents. And I'm so grateful for the family that I grew up in. And like you mentioned, I've been married now for almost 5 years, and we have a little 18-month-old girl, and she is the light of our lives. So that is what kind of keeps me busy right now.
Mm-hmm.
I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So that obviously has played a big role in my upbringing. It's a very family-oriented religion. And also I just think the family that I grew up in with the parents that I did, I think kind of helped. I grew up in a very safe, loving, stable home, and I was able to experience the joy of family life and siblings, and I think that's something that naturally kind of influenced my desire to have a family of my own someday.
So you've known from a very young age that this was something that was in the cards for you?
I hoped so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think having my mom was a working mom my whole life. And her life has just always been so full, it feels like. She has always had hobbies of her own. She's so social, has always had so many friends, and then has had her work, her passion. And then I know she loved being a mom. And I think just seeing growing up with like a happy mom that was fulfilled in her life, I think also kind of played a role in me wanting to be a mom too.
That's interesting. I think that's really important when you see like the mother figure in your life really embracing being a mom and like
Totally.
loving being a mom. That I could see how that would, like, when that's what you've seen from the time that you're small until the time that you grow up, and that's what's mirrored back to you, that just becomes a natural part of, how you plan your life. It's interesting to me because I am like the opposite as far as like having kids and getting married. Like, it's things, those are both things that I'm open to, but it's not something that, at least right now, like, I can't speak for myself in like 10 years, but at least right now I'd be okay if that didn't happen, if the right person didn't come along. But the fact that you've known that you've wanted it for a long time probably made you more confident in your decision to be a mom. I would imagine you were like ready.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I've just always wanted to be. I think from a really young age, I've like naturally
Been
wanted.
motherly.
I don't know if it's necessarily motherly, but just like I've really yearned for like an intimate relationship, like to be known and to know others, to see and be seen by others, to love and be loved. I think in a deep way.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes that was hard in childhood and mostly adolescence, I would say, because I feel like that's not as common to like high school. We went to high school together, and I think like yearning for that at that age is just kind of not, I don't know,
Not, like,
common
prevalent,
in
yeah.
adolescence. Like I really should have just been able to let myself have fun and enjoy life in a different way. I think I've just deeply wanted those kind of relationships. So to me, like to be able to be with a loving partner and have that experience. And now being a mom is like the most intimate experience. Um, one of the most intimate, I guess I should say, experiences of knowing another soul and seeing another soul and loving another soul. It's just like the most amazing thing ever. And I think I've yearned for that from a young age. I think that's just been part of who I am. I just kind of love and feel things really deeply.
Yeah.
And so to be able to experience this kind of relationship in my life now has been so fulfilling and like life-changing for me.
Yeah.
I think adolescence was a harder time period.
Yeah.
I think, and you've probably seen that.
Yeah.
So my husband and I wanted to finish college before we started our family. So that was important to me to, and I think I'm kind of more of a planner just naturally. And so, especially with like pregnancy, your life, I think sometimes, at least I thought, in my head, you can kind of build out this plan for your life. And then you realize, especially I think with trying to start a family, that really none of it is in your control. And so we graduated college, we were starting to try, and then we ended up getting pregnant, and we happened to be on a family trip with my husband's family at the time. And so it was just super fun and exciting. And on his side, he's the oldest of 5, so he comes from a big family too. And so it would be the first grandbaby on that side. And so it was just super exciting and so fun to be with family and to share that news. And then we came home from the trip and told my family, and a couple of my close friends knew. And so I think I was riding this such high that I don't know that me and my husband will ever experience that kind of joy ever again because of the loss. But we were I can't reiterate enough how happy. I don't think I've ever been so happy before. And so in one day, it's just crazy how it felt like I lost everything.
Yeah.
Because I was so happy. And then, so I was just at home. My husband was at work, and I started noticing some blood. And so I just got obviously nervous. And I think that's another really hard thing. Pregnancy period and miscarriage symptoms are all very similar in the beginning. And so that can just mess with women's minds, which makes things hard because sometimes spotting in pregnancy is totally normal. But in my case, I ended up calling my doctor, and then they had me just come in right away to check things. So I called my husband who was working, and he just met me at the clinic. And I think just like the second I started driving there, I feel like I just totally disassociated from myself, from my body. And we got in the clinic, and that's another hard thing when you're going through miscarriage is you're in the same place as everybody who's coming for their prenatal appointments and things. And so it's hard to like sit there and see all these pregnant women or women with babies, and you're just not sure what's totally happening. And I feel like my husband and I hardly looked at each other. I think, our eyes said it all. We didn't really say much. And then we went into the room, and I'll never forget like having that ultrasound and seeing what we saw. And I think I just immediately disassociated from my body. I feel like I just went numb on the table, and the doctor was very kind, but he was worried about further complications, and so he wanted to send us. He wasn't positive that he was positive that we were miscarrying, but he wasn't positive that it wasn't like an ectopic pregnancy or something that would require like immediate surgery or something. And so he sent us to a hospital 40 minutes away. Was the only one that was open, and there was a massive snowstorm, and we were living in Utah at the time, and my husband and I had to drive separate because he met me from work. So we had to get in the car and drive 40 minutes straight to a different hospital. And I feel like that drive, I just kind of lost it. And then me and my husband had to drive separate, and it was through this crazy storm. We went to that hospital, and just lying on the table, and They do your ultrasounds, and the ultrasound tech, they're not allowed to say anything. And so it's just hard to sit there and not, not know what any of it means really. And also just, then I had to go to the bathroom, and the blood just progressively got really worse that day. And so then I just felt like I was sitting in it. And you're just sitting in blood-stained clothes. I had nothing to change into. And that ended up being a long time. And then we had to drive home, and the blizzard was so bad. It took us so long to drive home, and we had to drive home separately. And I remember not even be able to see out of the windshield, and kind of feeling well, if I don't make it home, I felt like the world around me was very symbolic of what I was experiencing. I just felt so numb and cold and dark. And it's hard to process what just happened. And then we got home. And it's hard to even come home to where I just left so happy. And then to have to change, I think that's one really hard part that I'm not sure many people really talk about.
Yeah.
But you really are just have to witness what just happened. You have to face what just happened. And I think I just cried all night on my husband's lap, and we were really sad. And then the other hard part is you have to keep going in to get blood drawn, because they have to make sure that the pregnancy goes away. And they are wanting you to test until you get a negative pregnancy test. And so that's really hard too, to have to kind of really face that it's gone, that it's passed through you, and that's takes time, and I have to keep going. But I was able to pass it all at home over a course of weeks, and it was so painful.
Really?
It was so painful for me. There was physically. Yeah, I felt like my body was grieving also, because death has to pass through your body. And it's it didn't just pass through me. I really feel like it did change me.
Physically? Well, obviously, other than physically, but when you say change you mean physically?
I think so.
Yeah.
Your body knows, I think any traumatic thing that you go through, at all in life, people always say your body knows and holds on. And I think that was really hard to, it was really hard, and it was really sad, and it was really hard to just the physical manifestation every time going to the bathroom and just having to look at what I'm losing and what I've lost.
The reminder, the trigger, basically. And you have to use the bathroom, so it's you could be in the middle of your day doing normal things, and you have no choice but to be triggered. And then you just have to keep going about your day.
And I was lucky enough to be in between jobs that happened to be during that phase, because I had just finished school, and so I was in between. And I'm so grateful that I didn't have to go show up to work, because I don't think I would have been able to. Those first weeks and through all of that, I could hardly get out of bed. They were definitely the lowest I've ever been in my life, and I'm so grateful for my husband, who just kept us afloat. And helped me try to eat, because I just couldn't eat, it was just a really low, hard time.
Would you say that that's the hardest thing that you've been through, in your life?
Yeah.
And what was the hardest part about it? Was it the physical aspect of losing your baby? Was it the emotional part, the mental part? spiritually, did you feel challenged? Like, what was, I mean, that can be a separate question we get into, but as far as what was hardest about it, what part was the worst?
It's hard. I don't know how to really answer. I mean, it was just all hard.
Yeah.
I think coming from such a high, it's like
Mm.
you get the thing that you wanted for so long, and then in a day it's taken away. It's like the second you find out you're pregnant, it's like, oh, we know the due date. We see you envision this life.
Yeah.
You envision it's not just like just the baby, but it's this life that you've created together. You kind of envision something, a dream almost, and then it gets taken away. Yeah. And so I think that's mentally really hard.
Sorry, I don't mean to get emotional. I've never, like, I don't want to say that I've experienced it the same way as you. But like with that feeling of having something and then having it taken away from you. Like, I feel like I know that feeling. Obviously to a different degree, but I just feel for you, and I feel I feel your grief. I feel like it's almost like because you're so vulnerable about it and like open about it and willing to talk about it so freely and so eloquently, it almost like transmutes out of you, and I feel like I can feel it and like pick up on it, and I just feel very sad for you because I know how heavy it is, and I've known since we were young like how much you carry, and so I know something like that felt like insurmountable, like you were not going to be able to get through it.
No.
Yeah, and I just know that when I see it, so I feel sad for you, and I know you came through it, but I'm just sorry that you had to go through it. Oh my god, I'm gonna look a mess.
I love you.
I love you. So grief is like a lot of times associated with like losing someone that's very close to you, someone that you have memories with, someone that you have spent years or months with, or whatever the case may be. This is a little bit more abstract, a little unique, because it's this person that you knew on a cellular level, on like a soul level, but didn't have the chance to meet. And I would imagine that type of grief is more complex and harder to put your finger on and explain to people who haven't experienced that type of grief. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but did it feel difficult to explain to people what it was like grieving this person that you hadn't met yet? Did it feel unique?
Miscarriage feels like an invisible loss and like this silent agony because no one sees it, and a lot of times it happens to many women before they've even told anybody that they're pregnant, and so then they feel like all alone in the whole thing. Part of me is like super grateful that we had shared. I always feel like it's sad when I hear so many women say like, oh, I can't share yet just in case, when I feel like you just should let yourself be happy and enjoy it, and if something happens, then you have people who know and can be there and support you. Because miscarriage, it feels like an invisible loss, and for me, I think the hard part about it too, even if you do have support through it, is like no one else remembers that due date. Even close in our life, it's like it's me and my husband, and that day is always going to be like hard. There's just things that you experience that because there's no outward manifestation of it necessarily for other people, it's just it makes it hard. And so I think it's just like the second you find out you're pregnant, there's just like this immediate, at least for me, there was an immediate love and excitement. And I have a journal entry of the night I first found out, and just so excited to become a mom. And I feel like it's just like, oh, yeah, I just have so much love to give. or I felt like that to this baby that I wanted to give, and to feel like I couldn't,
Yeah.
you know,
Like you didn't
or
have anywhere to like sit
or that
down
my
or love.
body, like, I always think what a special privilege it is to like literally be your child's first home, and I want them to feel safe in here. And so it was just devastating and sad that it didn't work out. um and I also didn't know how common miscarriage was
Mm-hmm.
either, because also nobody talks about it. I think right after, I was just searching for someone or something out there to help me feel like how was I going to get through it, you know? And so many women experience this. And so I do not I don't like public speaking.
Yeah.
You know, I've had a hard time wanting to do this, not because I love connecting with people and telling my story on like a one-on-one personal level. Um, but I just have felt like the need to want to write about it or to share, so that other women know that they don't have to be alone through this process,
Yeah.
whatever it looks like for them.
How was that for you when you went from being like an expectant mother to having that taken away from you? Like, did that really impact your identity, that you feel like, oh, I'm a mom, and then you feel like you're not a mom? Or did you still feel like you were a mom even after you lost your baby?
I think because it just was like all so fast, it just felt like crazy whiplash. You know, like we had been trying for a bit, but not a crazy long time. And so it was so exciting. And then I had all those hopes. And then within the first try, then it's taken away. And so I think it was just kind of whiplash. It all happened so fast. Um, I think eventually, like we talked about before, you think I was like a planner. And I think after that experience, I was like, I just have to throw it all out the door. Like, I have no control over this. And I can't just plan, what my life is going to look like. And I do want this thing. But if it doesn't happen for me, like, I can still I gotta try to still feel fulfilled in my life, you know? And it didn't mean I was gonna be done trying, but I just felt like I really needed to. I mean, this is like a couple months after, because I mean, it was a really low time for me.
Yeah.
But then eventually, I just decided, I was like, okay. I told my husband I'm gonna get my master's, and so I was like, I need some goal to work towards. And so I did my master's in 4 months online. I just accelerated it and focused.
4 months is
4 months.
crazy.
But I just focused all my time. I needed something to kind of invest in. So that really helped me. My husband's really into health and wellness. And I think after that loss, I think you kind of have to navigate a relationship with your body. And I just felt like I don't want to like distrust my body. Like, I just knew right away that like I wanted to heal my relationship with my body, because it felt almost like a betrayal.
Mm.
And going to the gym with my husband really helped. I've never been more motivated than right after we would go together. And I feel like it was such a good emotional release for me. And I just wanted to focus on like what my body could do. It had nothing to do with like aesthetics at all. I just wanted to feel like strong. I'm really grateful for my body. And that helped a lot. And so I think that actually helped a lot, just heal that relationship with my body and be grateful for it and what it can do for me outside of having children, And then my husband planned the funnest trip ever in my favorite place for me a couple months out, and we had the best time on that trip. And I remember when we were there, we went to DC. I love Washington, D.C., and getting to show my husband had never been there. And so I got to show him around all my favorite places. And I remember feeling like, oh, this is the first time that I felt happy this whole year. Like, for the first time again, I feel happy. And I think kind of all of those things, like engaging intellectually and working towards goals, healing my relationship with my body, and then just we did something for us and really enjoyed that time. And I think all of those things combined kind of just gave me this like freedom again to just let go of control of my life and be happy wherever it takes me,
Yeah. I didn't actually think about the way that it would change the relationship with your body. Did you feel like anger or like resentment towards your body? Because you said that it felt like a betrayal. I didn't think about that layer of things. What was that experience like?
I think it's just like you just feel sad or angry, like I'm supposed to be able to do this. Like, why can't I do this? And then you realize miscarriage is 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage. And a lot of times it just happens. It's part of nature, unfortunately, and so sadly. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with you or your body and what it could or couldn't do. It's just having a baby really is a miracle. All the things that have to align to create life is a miracle. It really is. The process is crazy when you really break it down. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes our bodies get diseases or, like things happen that are just inherent to the world that we live in. And so I think learning about that was also super helpful for me. Because I think sometimes women put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and I think that mindset has helped me so much now. I'm so grateful for my body.
Yeah. And I'm sure it took time to get there, though. Like a lot of work and rebuilding that relationship.
I think just being intentional and honest. I think what helped me so much was like I had been through hard things in my life before, and so I kind of felt comfortable in the hard, but I wasn't afraid of the darkness that was happening to me. Outside of probably like the first couple nights, but I wasn't afraid of it. And I allowed myself to feel everything that I needed to feel. I didn't hide it at all. I allowed myself to just go through the process as it was happening. I think I was very present and willing to be, and writing was super therapeutic for me and kind of always has been. And so I wrote out all my feelings, and I wanted one day, if we were able to have kids, I wanted them to read that, how I was feeling, because I just wanted them to know how much we want them. Like, I wanted them to be able to know how much their mom wanted them and wants them,
Yeah.
And I think you can get a glimpse of that when you realize, like, it was so low for me because of how much I wanted it, how much I wanted this.
Did you want to read something? I know you were talking about it. You don't have to.
But it kind of goes more into like spirituality side of things.
Well, that's funny. I was about to ask you about that.
Okay.
Did going through this experience make you doubt your beliefs or your religion, or did it make you stronger in your faith?
For me, I also think like moments in life, hard moments especially, I think people who practice faith, a lot of times it can turn people away from God, or it can bring you closer to him. I think my personal belief is that I can have a relationship with Jesus Christ and with God, like a real relationship, and it's something that I've built from a very young age. And I think a lot of that has been independent. Me pouring into this relationship with Christ, and I think through adolescence, and I've just kind of built this foundation for myself of faith. Really, I feel like just a relationship with Jesus Christ and with God, feeling like I really believe that they know me and know who I am, and that I know them, and I'm so grateful for them. And so I think in this moment, it was definitely a time of like, okay, do I really believe that you're gonna come when I need you? Because something that I believe is like, just within a relationship, like, I need you, I'm gonna give to you, and will you give back? And obviously God and Jesus Christ have given so much, but I think in hard moments can feel like, okay, I need you now, are you gonna come? And I just stayed in that shakiness and in the hardness and trusted that they would come. And so I'll read from my journal.
Okay.
A few months after I miscarried, I had a dream. And so this is from my journal about the dream that I had. I wrote, "We met in the Garden of Grace. He walked me around this place of grief like he knew every corner of it. He told me I didn't have to be afraid of the darkness, the misery, and the brokenness. We sat in silent communion for a while. My soul was so tired. He didn't rush me. When I felt ready, he led me to a small field and asked me to start digging. We dug so deep our hands were stained with soil. The pain didn't go away, but I kept trusting. He helped me plant my fear, my anxiousness, my anger, and my loss. We wept together, watering the deep wounds below. Now it was time to wait. Though exhausted, it felt like I could finally breathe again. He guided me over to a beautiful corner of the garden. Our eyes met, and I recognized the familiar landscape in front of us, the gardens of my past, now flourishing with vibrant life. I couldn't believe how tall the flowers had grown. We remembered together how it was grace that carried me here, and by grace I will carry on. This new field we planted is raw, messy, and bare. To me, it doesn't look like much. Yet in his eyes, it was already beloved. Though it will take time for this garden to bloom, I know that he won't abandon me. He is the gardener after all."
That's beautiful, Liv. And I bet it was very therapeutic for you. How did you wake up after that? How did you feel after you woke up from that?
It almost feels like it's like a movie in my mind, or a painting that I can see. And I think whether you're religious or not, or have faith or not, I think that it's just a good metaphor for your life. I think that it really just highlighted this beautiful process of grief, that we can plant it, that we can acknowledge it and sit with it and feel it, and then not rush anything. And over time, and even if that's not now, over time in our life, we hope that we can look back and see the beauty that has come from these experiences. I think not just grief, but anything in your life. And I think a lot of people hopefully can relate to that, and to just know that for me, this was super helpful, because I did feel like I wasn't alone in this. I felt like he's carried it, and will keep carrying it. And it's significant to me because my husband and I ended up naming our daughter Grace. And she really is our Grace.
Yeah. I think that the message in your story, well, not your, I mean, it's a story, but in your dream that, like you pretty much encapsulated it very well. But I've just realized that grief is something that you have to welcome because it is not going away. Like, it is just from going through years of therapy and things like that. The therapist would always say, like, you have to make an appointment with your grief. Like, sometimes when you have this really heavy looming feeling, it's not something that ever goes away, especially when you're in the thick of it. Like, when you're in those first few hours, few days, few weeks, even few months after something traumatic, it is the first thing on your mind when you wake up. You think about it through the entire day, and it's the last thing on your mind when you go to sleep, and it's heavy. I'm going to try not to get emotional. It's so heavy, and it feels like you constantly have someone like pressing on your chest at any given moment, and like you just want it to stop. And it will fester if you don't process it, but it's so scary. Especially, like, I feel like you and I are both more familiar with the dark parts of our minds and of ourselves, and so it's like you said, when you say you weren't like scared of the darkness. I don't did you say scared, or what did you say specifically? You said
I
something
think,
about you were comfortable with it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think from being in it,
Yeah.
not afraid.
Not afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say that I'm not afraid, because I still get scared of how intense it is. Because when you feel so deeply, you feel everything deeply, including like the dark.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once you go through like those episodes of, oh, I know where I'm going, I've been here before, and that's why I'm scared of it, but I also know that I somehow came out of that. I didn't come out whole, I didn't come out unscathed, I didn't come out like feeling great about myself, but I did come out of it. And so the more times that you go through something like that, especially when it's the worst thing that's ever happened to you, right? Like this loss that you experienced. Now it's like you have this evidence to yourself that you can do hard things, that you can do the hardest of things,
Mm-hmm.
and still come out on the other side with grace, you know,
Mm-hmm.
both literally and figuratively,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, but being able to sit with that and make your appointment with grief as if it's an actual person, as if it's someone that's just wanting to be heard, that's what made it a little bit easier for me to sit with it. Is, oh my gosh, I have this like this gift to feel these things, and it's the price you pay for feeling so intensely, is that you get to feel so much joy, and like you have the gift of like noticing the little things that maybe other people overlook, and experiencing appreciation for it or whatever, but you also have the burden of carrying the heaviness of those dark feelings.
Totally.
And it's like a part of what reluctantly I've just accepted it. And it
You have
seems
to.
like you have too, which is where the grace comes from, is the acceptance of it, because you don't get that grace and that healing without coming face to face with the things that scare you, and the things that like want to tear you down and want to keep you in bed and make it hard for you to brush your teeth and make it impossible for you to eat and make you feel like you'd rather not see another day than have to wake up with like what it feels like in the morning, you know and like having it hit you like a brick, like, wow, this is my life. Like, I can't believe this is my life. And you do that enough times, and you just get to come out on the other side of it, you know, with the grace. And you don't get that without coming face to face with it. So I just want to give you kudos for, not just experiencing it privately, because you have to survive it privately to get to where you are now. I was just saying in my last episode that for you to be able to openly talk about something, that is such a huge indicator that you have healed in some way. Maybe not entirely. I don't think you can ever heal entirely
Yeah.
from something like that. There's always going to be a scar. But the fact that you can sit down and share it with strangers shows there's some degree of healing that has happened there. And so I just want to give you your flowers for that. It's not for nothing.
Well, thanks for creating a space always for people to be able to share. And I think I'm just grateful that I wrote it all down and that I allowed myself the presence through that time period, because for me also, like, part of the hardest part of it was just like knowing life was going to go on and everyone was going to move on. And when it feels like invisible, it's like I didn't want, it's like almost time is hard in some ways with loss, I think, for anyone to just like, because it really sets into stone like that they're gone, or whatever this thing is gone. And I didn't want to forget, and I didn't want it to feel like, I think miscarriages can be so tricky whenever you end up losing it, losing the pregnancy, because it can feel like, did that happen? Like, was that even real? Did that happen to me? And for me, I think I'm so grateful I documented it, because I can look back and I can remember these feelings because I wrote it all out. And I documented it through the hard, because I didn't want to forget. I didn't want to like be down the road and feel like, oh, I don't quite remember that. Like, I can read and I can feel my heart that hard. One thing that was really helpful for me, well, I guess that I yearned for, was like, because it's invisible and then it's gone, it felt like I have nothing physical to show for this. Like, this was a real loss in my life, and now it's just like literally invisible, it felt like. And I was just yearning for something like tangible to hold on to. One of my friends ended up sending me this little angel necklace, and I hardly ever go a day without wearing it. And I have now sent this necklace to countless people as soon as I find out or I'm connected to someone who has lost someone. Now it's something I feel like I want to send to other people to have to hold on to, because it's just like, you want something physical. And then my sister had sent flowers that week, and so I had pressed some flowers and I made them in a little frame that hangs in our house. Always, I have a couple of them, and I feel like having something tangible, a reminder that it was real, has been super helpful for me, and can be maybe helpful for somebody else going through this kind of loss, when it feels like.
Did you go to therapy too?
I didn't.
Really? You just raw dogged? That's crazy.
I didn't. I should have. I mean,
it seems like you did okay. So the biggest thing,
I think having my faith, that kind of a relationship, I feel like, not that I probably don't need therapy in other aspects of my life, but I feel like prayer is something I practice a lot, and being able to, prayer for me is a moment where you're just like very honest and talking through how you feel to someone who you believe loves you or is listening. And I think just even that practice every day is super helpful, because the kind of prayers that come in my life sometimes, I mean, they're, especially during that season, sometimes I feel like they were prayers without even saying any words. But I think the practice of prayer can be super therapeutic and helpful, forcing you to kind of pause and stop and reflect and be honest with how you're feeling. So I think that that probably was a practice that was super, I know it was super helpful then, and it's just an anchor in my life that helps me a lot.
So your faith, writing, memorializing it in some way with tangible items, those are all things. And then obviously, I imagine you received a lot of support from your family and your partner. How did they take it? How did they respond? Were they just mostly concerned about you?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I think, especially with early pregnancy loss, it's like a connection that you have with your body that I think a lot of women feel. I think it's hard for even your partner to fully conceptualize like that there's
Yeah.
a real baby in there, but you feel it. And so I think that they were worried and concerned for me, and me and my husband were living out of state from my family at the time. Um, and so they sent support, but I think it was a little different. I think my husband really, I'll get so emotional about it, but
Yeah.
he's just the best partner. And I'm so grateful that I had him. And if I didn't have him, I think that this whole journey probably would have looked quite different for me. I think he, for any other partners out there too who may listen, like he kept our life afloat and created a space so that I could face it. Because if he wasn't there keeping our life going, I think then, and that's makes me sad for a lot of women who don't have that, because you do have to go to work the next day and you do have to show up in these spaces, and it feels invisible that nobody sees. And I'm so grateful that I and acknowledge how lucky I am to have had a partner and a husband who was totally concerned about me and focused on me and allowing me to be however I was. He didn't expect anything from me, which is hard for me, my personality. You know, to like what I mentioned before about wanting an intimate relationship with someone. I think for our marriage, it was one of the, now I look back, I just think it was like so strengthening in our marriage, which I'm grateful that it brought us closer, because it's such an intimate and vulnerable experience. And it's so hard for me to let someone see me as I was in that state. And he always created that space for me to just be. And I never felt any ounce of rush from him. I never felt anything but love and care and support. And even though we grieved differently, or it was a different experience, like, yeah, I just felt so much love and support from him. And so for me, it was like he helped so much get through that experience. I do think I probably would have had a different experience had I not had him, because you have this extra person who's allowing this space for me to face everything and be honest. So I didn't have to show up to other responsibilities because he handled it.
Yeah. Well, you so deserve that, Liv. Like, I know that, like, there may be parts of you that feel, you know, whatever type of way when you look back on how much you leaned on him or whatever the case may be, but you so deserve that because you've been that person for everybody else in your life for so long. So if there was any time that you deserve that, it was now. And I am fully 100% confident that God sent you someone like that because you deserve that, because you've paid your dues in being there for other people and been let down enough by people in life that did not have your back that way, that God would never let you end up in a situation like that with someone that couldn't carry it with you. So I fully believe that. And I'm happy you have him.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, of course. Um, obviously, I know you said that it brought you guys closer, so I'm sure that it made it easier to have like difficult conversations with him and things like that. And I'm sure you guys were very open throughout the entire process. But how did you even begin to start like having conversations about trying again and having a baby again?
I think he was just ready whenever I was, because it's obviously something that we still wanted. And so there was zero pressure from his end to like, it was really kind of up to me when I felt ready, when I felt like my body was ready. Um, and really, I think I genuinely threw out that timeline and I threw out the planning and I threw all of that out and just kind of let life unfold. And obviously, you have to try. I mean, sometimes people just get pregnant, you know, but I think that was the hard part for my personality before is it's like you want to just like, you don't want it to become your whole life. But then at the same time, sometimes when you're trying, you have to know when you're ovulating. So you have to take, it can be something that you kind of have to be so meticulous about. And then it can kind of rule you in a way. Like, and I didn't want any of that anymore. And there's obviously anxiety with then getting pregnant again and having to deal with the loss of it. Like that was so hard to want to like, can I let myself I be happy? I can't lose it again. Like I just felt like, so I think working through kind of those feelings, I threw out any timeline. And I think after all those things I mentioned, I was able to get my master's and we went on that super fun trip. And I felt like me and my body were in a good place again. And I think mentally I just felt like I was a whole person again and that this didn't have to rule me. Like whatever happened, whatever our path is together and starting a family, it's gonna be, and I can't control everything. And so I think that was super helpful to let go of that stress and anxiety about it. And then it happened again for us and we got pregnant. And the hard part about miscarriage is that you lose your innocence around pregnancy. And even we look back at pictures of ourselves or videos before, like I have our reaction to finding out that we were pregnant for the first time. And I'm like, I can never set up a camera again to film myself. Like there's just, it's so hard because you feel so grateful and excited when it happens, but then there's just like a pit of like, I can't lose this again. And the hardest part is the crash. It's like you're so happy and then it's like it was the biggest crash of my life in one day and so much is happening, you know. Mm-hmm. And so I think that anxiety kind of carries over through pregnancy, and it did. So I was excited, but I was afraid to be excited.
Yeah.
And so those first weeks you find out and you have to wait quite a while till you can get in. But because we had a miscarriage before, the doctors let us come in really early. Mm. And so they brought me in 4.5 weeks just to check. They weren't positive we could see something. And I had to go back in that same ultrasound room. Mm. And to be able to see a different image was super healing for me.
Yeah.
And at 4.5 weeks, you could just see the dot, but that's what you wanted to see. And it gave us like so much peace of mind, gave me peace of mind. Before then, you have to wait again for the next ultrasound. And the whole pregnancy, it's hard because you feel like you're waiting for the shoe to drop. You're like so excited, but you're so scared to be excited. For a while, I was like, because the second I found out, you know, you're planning everything. You just see a future. You know when they're due. You know, you plan a life, and so it was hard to kind of balance that anxiety and let myself be happy, really the whole pregnancy. And then at 11 weeks, I had a little spotting. Oh. And I cried all night and woke up the next morning and had to go into urgent care. And my husband was away at school, and I just remember begging God, like, I will do anything if you let me keep this baby. And not that I believe that that's even in the cards, but it was just like how I felt, like I would do anything.
Yeah.
And so I went and we got to hear her heartbeat for the first time, and it ended up being okay. But that scare at that time kind of rocked me again, because I had just been starting to let myself get excited, and then it was like, oh, like this can be taken away again, you know? And so I think that just carried, I was like, I don't know if I can fully accept this till she's in my arms, you know?
Yeah. I was going to ask, like, when did you feel calm?
I think holding her,
Yeah.
or like hearing her cry for the first time. That's also a gift not many people talk about. That's devastating. That can be devastating for a lot of other mothers who experience loss. But hearing her cry
That's when
and
you
holding
could
her,
breathe.
I felt like I could breathe.
Yeah.
But then postpartum happens, and then you have a little baby, and you're like, oh, I could still lose you, you know?
Yeah.
And even my daughter now, you just realize how much is out of your control. You love this soul and person so much.
Yeah.
And it's so scary. I think in any relationship, it's so scary to know that, you know,
Yeah.
loss is a part of it. But I think holding her and having her, I think having that loss before, like, I appreciated even how hard newborn life and early postpartum is. Like, I could see that baby crying and have her and hold her, and it meant everything to me.
Yeah. If there was one thing one last piece of advice that you could give to anyone who is struggling with the loss of a baby right now or has struggled with it in the past, what would your one piece of advice be?
Um, I would just want to say that I'm so sorry, and that I see you, and that I hope that you can let yourself feel all that you're feeling, and that there's no time limit and there's no rush, and that you and your body are capable. But most of all, like, just when I was in the thick of it, you know, like, there's so many messages that can be hurtful or not helpful. And really, I would just want you to not feel alone in this. Like, I see you, and your loss is real, and what happened to you was real. And sending you a lot of love.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Liv. I know it was really hard for you to come on and like talk about it, and I just really appreciate you sharing it with me and with everyone else.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you guys have any further questions for Olivia or want to continue the conversation, I will have her contact information available on my social media channels, and I will see you again in 2 weeks to talk more elephants.